I did it. It's like kind of okay.
Mm-hmm.
All
I
right.
just only see your emote, like your
Oh, don't worry.
avatar.
I just need to turn the camera on. Oh,
Yay!
I screamed a lot there.
A bit. So, how do I get the headband up to Australia so that I can get my legendary Sarah skill?
This is a good
Since
question. You know, I'm just saying that we're officially starting right now. This is the podcast.
all
So
right.
welcome to the Last Poll podcast. Rava wants a headband so that she can get the Saris kill. And you know what? I think that's pretty appropriate. You can get them on eBay. Well, there used to be one on eBay. I don't know if it still is on eBay because I didn't buy it because I wanted somebody else to be graced with the headband. But anyway,
Yeah.
I'm excited to talk to you today. I started this podcast because one day I woke up and I was like, I want to talk to people. And there's some really cool people in the Guild Wars 2 community. And I thought, who should I invite on the podcast? And you were one of the first people I thought of because I had this realization that I don't actually think we've ever spoken. I think we've
No.
only like through the Twitch chat, through Discord, through Twitter. I think we've only ever spoken that way, but we've never actually like voiced,
And like it's funny because I know most of your life. I know Banana, I know Goose, I know when you got your dog, I know when you got accepted, like your PhD and stuff. But we've never talked, just like
Yeah.
like directly,
It's
and we have Pazu in common, but just the two of us, we've never talked.
yeah, I just think that is so interesting because likewise, I would consider us like friends, but we've never
Yeah.
actually spoken, right? And I just thought that was really kind of interesting and kind of odd, but we both have the whole like PhD thing in common now, I guess, that at least I'm pursuing one and you have one. Even though they're
Yeah.
in vastly different things. I'd say I'm the pleb social scientist, but
No, but I have some beef with you with that. Like, I had the PhD stuff as my trademark, like that was the thing I was known for. And now, there's gonna be two of us. I feel less special, but at the same time, I think you're gonna be amazing. Like you're so passionate and you have everything that you need to have to do a PhD. Like if I had the same passion and the same drive that you have, I bet my PhD would have been even better. So
oh well,
it's
thank you.
fantastic and congratulations.
That's very kind. I'm super excited. I think it's going to be so much fun, and the supervisors there are so excited for me, and they know how much it means to me. Why don't we just? I kind of view this as like the chill, like we're just telling stories and stuff. We're gonna have a good time. So I'll just start off with this. A lot of people don't know this, but I went in and you can attest to this. A lot of people, when they go for a PhD, they'll apply to a lot of schools, right?
Yeah.
They will apply to, I don't know, maybe like some like 40, some maybe more. I know a guy that applied to like 60 and got into 10, and I applied to 2.
That's
I
pretty good.
I had a dream and I knew what I wanted, but I knew that, I have 2 young kids, a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old in September, and a dog and a wife and a house and a mortgage and all of those things. And I just thought, I don't want to give up my dream, but I don't know how to make this something that my family can be a part of, because I think it would be extremely unfair to ask my wife to give up everything, all of her dreams and all of her plans for my dream. And likewise, my kids would suffer so much if I were to move. So I thought a lot about that. And I thought, well, I have a dream. I'm going to give it one shot. And so I studied that stupid test. I took it 4 times, studied for months, and I was working 2 jobs while doing it and then streaming a little bit here and there. I didn't even get the test score that I wanted, and I considered giving up, but I was like, you know what? I'm just going to apply anyway and see what happens. And I got 2 interviews. I went into the first interview, and it was the slightly higher ranked school. I had a bit of a connection there. And at the end, they said, "Do you have any questions?" And I thought I did really well in the interview. And I said, "I don't, but I want you to know a little bit about me." And I told them about my dream and how, I was just so lucky to even be in the interview and how it meant so much to me. And apparently that was really impactful. Like, my mentor is a prof there, and she watched it because they recorded it and sent it to the profs. And she said that it really impacted a lot of people. So it was kind of political. They ended up picking me third, and they could only have 2 spots. So I was their backup. And then I went to the next one and I did the same thing. I was like, and I actually kind of wanted to go to the second one a little bit more anyway, because it was closer to home.
Yeah.
And I said, look, I want to be there so bad. Like, no one wants this more than me. You got 100 applications. I want it more than all of them, and I'll do whatever it takes. And they told me I was their unanimous first choice after that. And that was like really
awesome.
cool. So I'm just so excited about it.
I bet, like, if it's a good lesson, I'm sure you'll keep that. But not a lot of people did what you did, which is being like genuine and honest. And that's like something that like and I don't know, maybe it's different in your realm, but in the realm of medical sciences and medical research, you're just taught to just not be yourself. You have to be a machine, and you have to answer the questions the way you're supposed to answer the questions. And it's really awesome that you just was like, fuck it, I'm gonna be myself and I'm gonna be genuine. And I just hope you keep that whenever you go into your PhD, because unfortunately, like, it's I don't want to scare you, and I'll be there if you need me, but it's hard, it's tolling and stuff. But you do have your passion, you do have your wife, you do have your family, and I'm sure you'll do amazing. And just never stop being yourself. Like, don't let other people think that fake it until you make it bullshit and stuff like this.
I think I had to be careful though, because I'm a little bit too much myself sometimes. I'm very opinionated, if you couldn't tell, right? And they were like, "Oh yeah, like you have to be a TA," and I said, "That's a waste of time." I said, "I've already taught 7 classes. I don't need to be a TA. I need to be an RA." I said, "Give me research. Don't make me mark papers. I know how to do that already."
Yeah. Okay. That's
I
good,
think, yeah. And they were like, "Huh, well, maybe." I like really caught them off guard that I was that forward about it. But I was like, "No, this is what I want for my progression here. Like, I need your help to do this." I said, "I'm happy to grade some papers, but if I have a choice, let me do this other thing so that I can get better at that." But it's going to be a journey for sure.
And make sure you have your name on as many publications. Like, don't use that like authenticity and just like frankness to be like, "Oh, you need me to do that work on that paper, or like, that research or that analysis. Put my name on that paper, even though you're co-author. Like, this will be your bread and butter at the end, and you'll just be headhunted the more. Even if you're not a main author, other than for your thesis, definitely just shove yourself in there."
Yeah, I'm gonna be writing, and I've gone to all of them so far, and I've just been like, "Please let me help you with something," and they've gone way above and beyond. They're sending me to like a methods boot camp, and they're paying like $4,000 to send me.
Heck yeah.
They're one of them wants to include me in writing a textbook. I was gonna be included in some other research, but I think that, well, I got pulled. Kind of a very short side story. I got pulled off the project because I knew too much about it, and I could no longer be a blind coder. I did too much research, and I figured out like what she was going for. Like, I guessed what her hypotheses were, and at that point, she's like, "I gotta pull you because you have to be a blind coder."
Yeah, that's what happens when you're too passionate.
Yeah, so that was kind of fun. But anyway, that's something that we have in common. But I think it's so good to talk to you. I want to talk about like the community and mental health and
oh boy,
just
my jam.
Just all these good things that I know that you're really passionate about. I just want to know like what the community means to you. Why do you do this thing? The streaming thing.
All right. Well, it's right into the topic of mental health. When growing up, you know me, Snow. Like, even though we haven't talked, you know that I'm loud and proud.
I love it.
Okay, but when I growing up being so loud, and I was also massively overweight, I was really judged by people all the time for how I looked, for what I said, for my opinions, for being a nerd in science and liking video games. So even though I kept this aspect of myself, I was like hiding a little bit, or I never felt like, I fit in. Um, and one day, unfortunately, I woke up to a phone call from a childhood friend who told me, "Hey, unfortunately, and there's a bit of a trigger warning here. My friend passed away, and he took his own life because he felt like he couldn't reach out to anyone." And that really bothered me, like to know that it's common. Men, like everyone suffers from mental health, but mainly men are not allowed to cry, they're not allowed to feel, they have to be strong, they have to be the provider. And that really pissed me off. So I don't know why, but one day I just picked up like OBS and I was like, you know what? I want to like stream Guild Wars 2, but I want to also like talk about mental health and make sure that people know that it's okay not to feel okay, because Guild Wars 2 has such a strong aspect when it comes to mental health. Like, there's a lot of characters that are going through shit, and I find that really beautiful. And so that's when I started, and yeah, and I realized that I could be myself. I could be loud, proud, fat. And people were hanging out and they didn't care and they liked it. So that's why we're here today. And it's really awesome because now I'm part of, like, obviously there are bad apples everywhere, but and like your community, our communities are very wholesome, inclusive, and they want to help each other. And I think that in our world right now, it's very important. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. And I actually, you were one of the first streamers I watched outside of like Pang and Marek. And I was like, damn, that dude is cool. I want to be outspoken like him, and I want to talk about everything like he does. So yeah, it was really cool.
It's really neat hearing, and thank you for sharing that, first of all, but it's really neat hearing that kind of feedback because a lot of people don't know, but sometimes I turn off the stream and I'm like, holy crap, I just have this like anxiety overload, this vulnerability hangover, you might call it, where I just think, have I overshared? Was I too opinionated today? Was I a little bit too bold? Did I make somebody sad? I like really struggle with that sometimes. In fact, there have been a few times when I've taken really long streaming breaks, and it was really because of that. I just started to feel like maybe I just didn't fit in and I just said things too boldly, or maybe I was a little brash at times. I'm always afraid. I come off as like maybe quite confident and whatever, but I actually am always afraid that I'm gonna hurt someone by accident.
I think that's a good thing. Like, it keeps you in check. Like, I was listening to your stream earlier, and you felt bad about maybe someone joining that Doom and didn't have
Yeah.
Doom experience. And like, yes, you feel bad because you might have been a bit like too rough in your words, but the fact that you feel bad and the fact that you're still thinking about it, like maybe, I don't know, 4 hours later, really speaks about who you are as a person. You'll always keep yourself in check, and that's the most important part. Like, some people, I don't want to create drama, so I'm not gonna name anyone, but they're just okay with, like, getting frustrated, lashing out at people, and then that's it. They're over it, and they end the stream, and there's no consequence. So the fact that you feel bad about it really shows that you're a great person.
Yeah, I think a lot of times I'm like really anti cancel culture. In fact, if I get a chance, that's something I'd like to study. That's probably far down the list,
Cool.
but I would like to study cancel culture. I think it's very interesting because I suppose part of my research was already like semi adjacent to that with YouTube apology videos, but I feel like people can change and people make mistakes, and if we held on to every little bad thing that somebody did, we'd be in a really rough situation. I think it's really cool to think about historically, how did people seek forgiveness when they did something wrong? And when you think about it very historically, a lot of people used religion as a means of seeking forgiveness. And in the eyes of the community, when somebody had sought restitution and repentance through their church, regardless of what denomination it was, that was sort of like a sign or a symbol to them that, hey, like they did what they needed to do and now we can let it go. But with religiosity among people being on the lower end, more people would identify as like spiritual, but not religious. At least in Canada, that's the case. And as a result, you have like no, like, what do people do to be forgiven, right? What does
Yeah.
somebody have to do when somebody makes a mistake? What do you do? And I don't want to play like pseudoscientist here, but I often think, like, when youth are really struggling with mental health and you see a lot of isolation and people not being as social, is it because they're afraid of making one mistake and never being able to be forgiven? It will never be erased. They make a stupid video or something, it never goes away. There's this level of permanence that I think we artificially create. It's not really there, but yeah, I like, what do you think about that? Like, I just think it's so interesting.
No, it's super interesting. I agree. Like, yeah, from my perspective, like, it's if you don't allow people to change and if you don't allow people to show that they've gotten better, then what's the point of them getting better? If they're like, oh,
Yeah.
I fucked up, like, what do I do now? Like, what's going to happen? And it's true that cancel culture would that just completely erase like improvement, and it really sucks. And I think if you do research on this, it would be fantastic. Like, if you could change the realm of cancel culture so that, like, people are held accountable, but they should be allowed to change. Like, obviously there are things that, and I guess that's bias and how you view things, but there are things that maybe if you say certain things or you do certain things, you're not really allowed, you shouldn't be allowed a platform, or like but if it's something that can be redeemed and that doesn't hurt an entire population or a certain like person, I think you should be allowed to change and maybe be forgiven down the line.
Yeah, I think what a lot of people don't realize, and this maybe will go a little bit personal to me, but somebody can't change their mind or something unless how do I explain this? They can't change unless they know they've made a mistake. And so if everyone's always afraid of making mistakes or saying anything, then we're destroying dialogue. It's hard to find common ground. It really is only going to polarize people politically and all those other things if they are unwilling to have conversations. Myself, for example, I grew up in a very conservative religious household, and I was taught very specific, somewhat dogmatic doctrine about what to believe, about how people should act and what people should do. And it was only because somebody was willing to not get mad at me for my opinion at the time, but deconstruct it. Say, well, why do you think that way? And challenge me on it respectfully. And because they did that, I grew to be quite more socially liberal and a little bit more accepting than I otherwise would have. Like, you never would have caught me in some of these circles I'm in now when I was like 18, right? Because I was told that these things were evil and whatever, right?
Yeah.
So, but imagine if there's actually this psychological thing that happens. It's called retrenchment, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Don't quote me on it. It's a long time since I've looked into this, but essentially if you attack someone in something they're like really, devout in or like very, very passionate about, they will dig deeper into it and hold on to it even stronger. So attacking somebody doesn't really do anything. Having a respectful dialogue does.
No, it's for sure. And there's also the aspect of like, for example, that friend that like took the time to deconstruct with you, like they probably changed your life for the better and allowed you to be a better person, and that's just like to be celebrated. But people just like attack others, and like you said, you have this phenomenon of retrenchment, if that's the term.
I think
But
it is, but we'll see.
yeah.
Someone in the comments will know.
Yeah. Like, I had the similar issue around like when I started streaming. So I'm very pro LGBTQIA plus, 2S now, and I'm part of the community and stuff. And I have this wonderful friend in my community. They are one of my mods, and they used to go by any pronouns. And so one day I said something really diminutive, and I did not realize, because to me I associated like their identity with their pronouns, which was very different. And they got upset because it's a lot, like, it's very painful for them, obviously. And so at the end, they came back to me when I ended up the stream, and they explained to me what I did wrong. And to me, the fact that they chose not to shut me out and to educate me and to give me another chance, like, it meant the world for me. Like, it just meant the world, because now I have a better understanding of that, and I welcome more in my community, and I know that they feel safe. But if that person had canceled me and had told me, well, had been like, oh wow, this person is so like Rava's so ignorant, fucker, I would have never learned. And I think that's why cancel culture can be so dangerous, because you're not allowing people to learn. But at the same time, you also can't expect people that you hurt to be the educators. You have to always educate yourself as well, which is very difficult because there's so much to learn about the world right now. So yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, it's very tricky. Certainly very tricky. I'm gonna slightly switch because I have to talk about this. I think it's super important. I want to know what your reaction was like when you got the presumably email about getting into the ArenaNet partner program.
Oh my gosh. I've told everyone this, but I had COVID, and pretty much when I saw the email, I got cured for at least a good 8 hours before I went back down to like being really sick. It was really funny because Kyoshi was streaming, and he had been allowed to announce it to everyone. And I have a friend who DM me on Discord, and I was still like suffering. And they're like, "Oh, Kyoshi got partnered," and I'm like, I'm human. I'm like, fuck yeah, yay, good job. But inside, I'm like, again, I get looked over. And so I open his stream to go congratulate him because he deserves it. And then the moment I open his stream, I got the news that I got partnered as well. And I was like, oh, like, it's been 4 years. So it's just been fantastic. And to be around, like, when I got partnered, you welcomed me. So many people were like, wow, finally Rabbi. Like, a lot of people were like, wait, you weren't partner? And I'm like, yeah. I wasn't. I love the game though, so I never stopped promoting it, but no. So it's really cool. It means the world, and it's really cool to be like standing amongst like people who do a lot for the community, like you, like Jebro, like Rook, like Lara, like, and Sheriana, everyone. It's so cool, man.
Yeah. When I got partner, I I like just about exploded. I couldn't believe it. I had to wash the headband. It was like, well, actually, I washed the headband a little bit before that, but it was still pretty insane because so the story of the headband, for those that don't know, is that I wore the headband every day for like 2.5 years. I said I wouldn't take it off until I got I wouldn't wash it until I got partner. So it was like, I swear it was molding. It was like yellow, and there's like these little spots on it and stuff.
I remember.
It was starting to give me acne. It was really bad, and it was slightly upsetting. But then, eventually it did get washed, and I had to, like, what do they call that? They call it like when you strip the fabric or whatever. It was like a blue solution, and it turned like green.
Oh my. Oh gosh.
It was gross.
Maybe that's like you washing it is the reason why you got partner, like you were thinking about it the wrong way by not washing it.
Well, we actually washed it because I think it's because we raised $10,000 for Cure Rare Disease at the time, which was like super important to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, for those that don't know, Cure Rare Disease is a not-for-profit charitable organization, and they are looking for cures for, well, rare diseases, but there's one in particular called Duchenne muscular dystrophy. It's the disease that my younger brother has. And so that organization was particularly important to me for that reason. And so we ended up doing a tournament and raising quite a bit of money for them. And that was really cool. And shout out to Teapot for being a good sport and helping me with that and doing a lot of that fundraising.
That's really cool. It's awesome that you did that.
Yeah, but I just, this is kind of crazy. While we're recording this, I've been streaming for 12 hours, and I somehow managed to defeat Sarah CM, the most difficult boss in the entire game of Guild Wars 2. Shout out to the folks from Void Lounge and the TOF Discord and Emmy and Lara and there's like a million people there, and we finally did it. And I heard that you were also about to embark on this journey.
Yeah.
Have you started?
Yeah, kinda. So I have a little bit of trauma because I used to raid sell, right? So I used to farm raids and raid CMs and like prog it and stuff, not as like famously as other guilds and stuff, but we did a pretty good job being on OCX and trying to be world first OCX. And so obviously the last time that happened was in 2019 when Week 7 came out. And after that we had nothing until HTCM came out. And I tried at first because it did tickle my raider brain. But the problem was I had, like, I live in Australia. The time zones are so horrible. And I had to wake up at 6 a.m. on Saturdays so that I would have a team of heavy hitters to prog HTCM. And
classic.
And we progged it, and it was awful because I had 350 ping to 400. So imagine Mordramoth, like I would jump, I would see myself jumping, and I would get knocked, and that was like 2 hours gone. And so I kind of broke. I was like, you know what, I'm done with this. I don't like strikes and stuff. And then I started watching everybody, you, Emmy, Lara, Teapot, Snowcrows, like progging Sarah CM, and I started to realize, well, this fight is actually cool. Like, there's an aspect that I really like compared to HTCM. So I got convinced by a friend who was like, Rava, I promise you will get it. And I'm like, oh. So I only had one session. We're not going for legendary Sarah CM just yet, like just the non-legendary CM part. And it's fun. The only issue, and you can understand it better than anyone, is I'm playing Kondi Quick Herald.
Oh my gosh.
And when you have high ping and you press that elite on Malix and it doesn't go, it's so frustrating. But yeah.
My hands are swollen. They're like totally swollen right now. The APM is high. And you have to let Malix fully tick.
Yeah, I know, it's awful. And I'm a healer main, so the fact that I'm asked to do DPS is like, okay. But apparently the
it's
healer
like exactly the same situation. I was gonna I usually play healer because it's like the easiest way to get people through the content. If you know the content really well and you play healer, you have like a massive impact in Guild Wars 2. But yeah, I was told to play DPS, and I'm like, crap, I haven't played any DPS role in ages. And I had to learn. I'd never played Herald before. I had to learn how to play Herald. I had to learn how to play Kondi Herald. Then I had to grind the DPS. Then I had to learn the fight. And it, like, I'm not going to lie to you, for the first 4 weeks, I actually hated it. I was pissed all the time. I was just flaming Herald. I like did not want to play it. And then one day something magical happened where it just clicked. And I suddenly realized the potential, and then I started flexing and just going into pug groups and being like, I'm gonna get top DPS as the quickness, and it's a super strong build once you get the hang of it. Holy.
So my question is, how long, so did you start with the normal CM first and then the legendary CM, or you went straight for legendary?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there's actually some interesting group politics regarding this, because initially I started and I said, oh, we should do regular CM first. And then I was like, well, but there's really no point in doing that. We should just do legendary. So we started doing legendary, and then shout out to Doritos. He was like, guys, you should really do regular CM because there's less HP. So you'll be able to see the mechanics faster. You're just going to get more reps. So you'll prepare for legendary more. And I was kind of against that at the beginning, but he was totally right. In getting those reps and getting to 10% more often, we were able to perfect those mechanics better. So I'm really grateful for having done that.
That's what I'm doing, and
yeah,
no,
it's working for you too.
Well, yeah, I just have a question. Is it
Mhm.
normal that I'm freaking confused, like, still? Like, I've done 2 hours, right? I've pulled
Yeah.
2 hours on it, but I'm still confused, and, people say that, you know, the weird dropping thing is the hardest. For me, it's the walls because obviously with my
Really?
ping, there like, the thing is, I'm not in the wall, but the game thinks I'm in the wall, so I get hit by the wall, and I'm
Yeah.
so frustrated by those freaking walls, man, and there's so many, and I'm like, "What?" So annoying.
Yeah, I actually really struggle with the walls at the beginning too. But eventually
Yeah.
you start to be able to like anticipate where they're going to spawn and like you just get kind of the flow of it.
Yeah.
I still so everybody, Harold is the easiest one to play
Oh,
because
tell me.
Harold has the facet of light or whatever. And so you never actually have to dodge anything. You can just press the button and it's free. So like the kill run that everybody was watching, I was just making sure that I pressed the button when I needed to press the button, and that was it. But yeah, you don't have to perfect the dodge as much. But I actually think the dodge is harder after a while. I still don't quite. I feel like I dodge differently every single time. Some other people seem to get it. I think it's right when the orb is hitting the ground is when you're supposed to dodge, but it doesn't. I don't think it's so sensitive that it's really hard to perfect that. Yeah,
I get you.
you'll get it. The walls aren't that bad after a while. You start to realize which walls you can like jump over and dodge. And I started to get really good at the dodge jump and like ensuring that I was getting through certain things because it gives you just like a little extra distance. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I just need to get used to it. Like the problem here is like people tell me what to do, but they don't understand that I have 350 ping. So, you know, for example, they see me dodge early and they're like, "Whoa, Rawa, don't do this." And then they realize, "Oh, wait a minute. No, she did it correctly because like she's lagging." So, but I do scare people a lot because, you know, especially when you drop that massive like, you know,
Mhm.
like the two ones, I don't know the language yet.
Yeah.
Um, I dodged before, and people are like, "Oh, you're gonna place it in the wrong way," and I don't, but it does look like that on their map. So, like for example, the commander saw me do that once and GG'd. They realized, "Oh, shit, okay, that was good actually." Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
ping. But I'll get it. I just yeah, it's fun. It's honestly fun. It's just like again progging. Like there's also a little, and going back to a little bit of mental health. When I progged Wing 7, it's the first time I hurt my back. You know,
Mm.
I for those who don't know, I've had a really bad back injury in 2019, and some of it was caused by me sitting too long and progging Wing 7. So there's a little bit of mental like fear when I prog a very hard fight now. But I really want to get it. But there's also like that. I need to stand up and I need to make sure I'm okay. So it's weird because it's a video game, but it has so much fear associated to it.
No, your body remembers. Oh boy, when was it? I think it was 2015 or 16. It might be 2016. I used to be I used to be 60 pounds lighter and fast. And I used to run a lot of 5Ks and stuff. And my best time ever was 21 minutes or so. So I was running pretty fast. I mean, it's nothing compared to like the Olympians or anything, but it was fast for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in pretty good shape. And one day I went outside and I love basketball, like really love basketball. And there was a basketball hoop outside and I went to try to dunk a basketball because I was in pretty good shape back then. And I planted my foot on the ground and it just kind of slipped. And then I just went, I like lost my breath for a second and I just like fell over. And then I tried to stand up and I had broken my foot. And
Yeah.
ever since then, I have just like this little bit of fear when I go to jump, right?
Mm.
It's just little bit of fear.
Yeah.
But,
It's
and
crazy how like
it still
once
hurts. There's like this phantom memory pain every once in a while. Like I remembered it hurting, but yeah.
yeah, and it prevents you from doing certain stuff. Like for example, I'm recently back into fitness and lifting. And like my coach, like so I lift the thing and he can see me like literally like tensing up, freaking out, holding my breath. And he's like, you're not gonna hurt yourself. You're stronger than this. But it's still there, like you know, your foot phantom pain. Like it's not real pain. Like it's probably not real pain. Like I don't want to
Yeah.
diminish whatever you're feeling, but the fear of it is terrifying.
Mm-hmm. Certainly. It certainly is. One thing that, I was thinking about different things that we could talk about. One thing that
Mm-hmm.
I think is really interesting is, you mentioned that we both have kind of the scientist thing, slightly different, again, disciplines, but how do you think that helps you be a better raider, gamer, Guild Wars 2 player?
That's a good question. I'm not too sure. I think it's, and you probably will feel the same way. I don't know. The drive. You are self-driven when you do research. You have to be your own project manager. You have to write your own stuff. You have to apply for your own PhD and go to your own interview. No one is forcing you to do those things. And that inherent drive makes you want to like keep reaching for goals that you want. So I think that's what I love in Guild Wars 2. When I started playing literally 3 months before raids was a thing, and the moment raids came out, I was in there, even though I was a super new player. And that was because, oh, I like the challenge and I really like this kind of thing, so I want to keep going. And that's why, like, despite the fear now, I still want to do this stupid strike. So, is that something that you feel as well? The drive to just achieve things, or?
Yeah, I've never really thought about it like that actually, but I guess there's a lot of tenacity. I don't give up, right? I just like
Yeah.
I went for 12 hours today, not only doing the run specifically, but I've spent probably 8+ hours over the last 2 days doing it. And I just won't give up until it's done. It doesn't matter if I hurt or whatever. I'm not a quitter, and
Yeah.
I think it also makes me perhaps just naturally curious about how things work. I don't have a strong ego when it comes to like understanding the raids. I'm very aware that I'm not the best player in the game or anything, but I know that I can learn things from the best players in the game and that I can become better. And I think it's that attitude, that growth mindset that really
Mhm.
allows me to go and be a powerful player on a team. And I think there are certain kinds of people that when you play with them, you want to play with them more. And
Yeah.
it's because they have that natural, like they're making the team better when they're there. And that's what I'm always striving to do is to just be a little bit better for the team. I don't know if that exactly comes from the sort of the scientific mindset, but I there's a problem. I want to figure out how to solve the problem. I have no ego. If it means that I need to be better, if it means that somebody has to tell me that I just am playing terribly, I don't care. And some people get really offended when somebody critiques them or it says that they're not playing well or whatever. I'm not like that at all. In fact, I get upset when people won't just tell me the truth. just
Yeah.
tell me that it's me. We had to sit my team down and be like, look, if I'm the problem and I'm live on stream, just tell me I'm the problem. I won't be mad at you. You just have to
Yeah.
say that it's me.
No, it's so good. And it's funny because it is definitely a mindset that scientists and researchers should strive for, because that's how, you collaborate and that's how you enhance like research and that's how you make discoveries. But unfortunately, most scientists and researchers have an ego, and the best researchers and scientists don't. They listen to people, like they listen to consumers. Like, for example, I work with people who have MS. My research is literally driven by people who have MS. I don't budge a finger and I don't do anything until I know that what I do is exactly what the people who have the disease I'm working on wants to do. And I think that's why, like, you've achieved a lot in Guild Wars 2. I was looking at your Discord just to join, and there were so many teams that were raiding And people say that raids are
How
dying.
many are
And
in
I
there right now?
remember, I
Oh
don't know if
yeah.
there's still that many, but there was a crap ton. And
Yeah.
I remember when you started this initiative, we're like, I'm gonna create new raid statics, and everybody was like, oh, I give it up, Snap, like raids are dead, and you're like,
Yep.
you know,
Yeah, a lot of people were like, dude, you're totally wasting your time. And I was like, no, I think this is something that people want. And I asked people, like I validated the idea and people wanted it. And so I was like, okay, well, let's do it. I think that'd be fun. It's a good way to meet some people. And it just grew and grew and grew. There's 140 teams now on the
that's,
Discord.
that's
Yeah,
it's
like
so cool.
I think the most people I've ever seen in the voice chat at one time is like 130. And it's just like wild.
Insane.
It's because I mean, I can't possibly know every single person anymore. I used to have a hand in placing every single person on a team and getting to know each of them, but I just simply can't. Like it's grown far beyond my personal capacity, and that's really special. And I'm quite humbled that people think it's valuable in any way. Yeah, it's meaningful to me because it's kind of for me, I yeah, I don't know if you know this. Again, kind of like a personal side story, but I left religion when I was a little bit after I got married, and this was a very
Mhm.
difficult thing to do. Just spoiler alert, I don't have any kind of crazy animosity towards anybody or anything, but it was a personal decision that I made, and that my wife made too. And I instantly lost all of my friends. It turns out that when you do that, it's kind of like an atomic bomb on all of your social relationships. So
Yeah.
I lost all of my friends, or at least most of them, and it was really hard. I had this massive gap in my life. I suddenly no longer had community, and then fast forward a little bit, the pandemic happened and I lost even more sense of community. I was no longer playing basketball every other day. I was no longer able to go to clubs, or not like nightclubs, but like I was going to like
Well,
activity clubs. I'm super nerdy. There's no way I would ever last in a nightclub. But
fair enough.
anyway, I've never been to a club actually. I'm super dirty. But anyway, I couldn't do anything anymore. So that's when I started streaming. And
Yeah.
to me, the Guild Wars 2 community filled that gap for me. And that's why I think a lot of people don't quite get, like, they see me get frustrated when people are telling me that I'm like toxic toward new players and all, like, so, mostly a joke, but that when the people are serious about it, I get really offended. And it's hard for
Yeah.
me to not feel that way because I care so much about this being a good place. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I get angry. I get frustrated, whatever, but I care about it a lot and I do my best. And so it's really impactful to me when I see people come and say, hey, like I got into raiding 100% because of the Discord and it's made this so much fun. I've heard people like started relationships because they met in one of the SG statics. Like it's crazy how
Aw,
far it's gone. But yeah,
that's so
this
cool.
this to me has filled that community void. And I think it's really special that a video game community could even do that.
No, I agree. I was thinking about it the other day. When I got ArenaNet partner, I decided to be like, you know how sometimes when you get achievements and you reach certain goals, you don't really take time to celebrate and you think about the next goal. That's something that a lot of people do. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna reflect on everything. And Guild Wars 2, and this goes back to like your community members and yourself, but has brought me so much. I started playing it when I started my PhD, and I'm so thankful that it was there because when I started my PhD, I was completely isolated. My first supervisor was a horrible person, and
Classic.
she made me feel like I did not belong. So I started playing Guild Wars 2 and I started raiding and I started making friends and it was so good. And then, fast forward a few years, I start streaming and I get my PhD, but there's a pandemic and I'm not a resident in Australia, so I don't really have good working rights. So no one wants to hire me. So I start streaming Guild Wars 2 and I get like support, financial support, where I'm able to like live a little bit thanks to Guild Wars 2 and to streaming. I get Twitch partner in 7 months or 6 months or something like that. And I meet the most wonderful people I've ever met in my life. And then now here I am, and I'm an ArenaNet partner. Like, it has brought me so much and more things that I can't talk about now that I will in the future. But this little game changed my life, and it's such an important, impactful game. And I think it's thanks to the community and like people who just, you know, like you, like Lara, like, again, I don't want to name everybody because we would be there till tomorrow morning, but like they choose to be themselves and they choose to bring value to this world. And it's so awesome that we're so like we've all found each other in this game, you know?
Yeah, it is really really neat. Like sometimes I'll put up you know, like unfortunately I can't put up your stream because it's like 1 a.m. when whenever I catch your stream, it's 1 a.m. I can't sleep checking out Rava's stream. But sometimes during the day on like a Saturday, I'll be cleaning the house and my girls are running around and I'll put like Lara's stream up on the TV while I'm vacuuming and stuff. And and they'll just like kind of listen and whatever, and they're doing their thing. And I just think it's like really cool that we all have this connection. And it's so difficult to describe to people that don't play video games and aren't involved in online communities at all, because they don't quite get it. Like I tell people sometimes, like, yeah, I went to Chicago and hung out with like 4 or 5 people that I just met online. We like raid together. And like, what? Like, why would they do that? I'm like, yeah, some people drove really far, some people flew. And that's just what we did. And then we did the same thing in Seattle. Like, no way. Right? Like they can't quite comprehend that people really care about each other, and you can form like real relationships online and really get to know people.
Yeah, no, it's so true. Like, in October last year, I went to Norway to like meet one of my mods who turns out to be like one of the most wonderful human I've ever met. And he met my dad, and we hung out and we ate like reindeer, which apparently tastes like beef, but it was fantastic. you know? And I can't speak for any other MMOs because I have not played any other MMOs, but I haven't heard those stories outside of Guild Wars 2 as much as when you hear it in Guild Wars 2.
Yeah. I've heard like some people will say that they met in World of Warcraft or whatever, but I think there is something about Guild Wars 2 that just makes it this cozy, comfy little place to meet people. I don't know what it is exactly, but it seems like people are relatively friendly.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it's also like the message the game has to offer. Like, I was gobsmacked when I played Guild Wars 2, and I don't think it's a spoiler. It's been out for 10 years, but you have a lesbian, a sapphic kiss, and that was in 2012 or something like this. Like, back then, it wasn't common to see that, especially in an MMO. So I think, and they're really pushing, like, not pushing, but they really talk about important topics like, inclusivity, mental health. There's just so much. So I think it just brings the good people around.
Definitely.
Mm.
So, I just want to check in. I know that you said you had about an hour, so we're kind of getting close to that time. Are you still good, or
I
how
can
much
go
time
for
do
a
you have?
little bit more, like 15
Okay.
minutes or something.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's do one more interesting little topic. Okay, so we know
Let's
you
do
got a PhD. We know that you're working in medical research with people with MS. You're doing all these crazy things. You just got ArenaNet partner, your Twitch partner. What's next? What's like a big life goal for you now?
Oh, all right. I guess I would really like, and there's many, but let's say in the social media place, I would like to get Twitch ambassador. So I applied
Cool.
for it, and I don't know if I'll hear from it. But I would really like to be an ambassador and do panels on mental health and mental illness, but also talk about my research. I think MS, multiple sclerosis, for those who don't know, not Microsoft, uh, is 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 so important. And it's everywhere. Like if you talk about multiple sclerosis, I'm sure you'll hear. Like remember when I came onto your stream and your wife said, "Oh, I know this person who has MS," or maybe a family member. I
It
can't
was me.
recall.
My cousin
Oh,
had literally been diagnosed with MS like a couple days before that or something, and was in the hospital. She had had a stroke while driving, and was taken to the hospital. So she's
yeah,
in
and
good care now, though. She's doing
uh,
well.
uh, I'm glad. But the thing is, not many people realize how common it is, and because we don't understand this disease yet, it's just so hard. And so I would love to talk about this and go to the topic of also some streamers are dealing with chronic conditions like MS, and they should be allowed to have a platform and they should be allowed to stream, and they, so I would really like to become an ambassador and just talk more about the things that we don't really want to talk about because they're a bit uncomfortable or they're scary to talk about because you people think you need to have a PhD to do that, and it's not true. Like I've had the most wonderful discussion with people who have MS and they don't have a PhD.
Hmm.
What
Yeah.
about you? What is your next goal?
Um. Well. Yeah. I mean, I'll just open the book for you right now. I'm thinking, okay, how do I get more funding for my PhD so that I can survive well?
Yeah.
And I'm having this really interesting conflict because I'm afraid of giving up streaming. That sounds maybe a little bit crazy, but I'm afraid of having to let go of it, and I don't really want to let go of it because I love it so much, and I love the hobby and all the people that I meet and the excitement, like the things that I'm doing today. But I'm afraid that when I go, that I'm not going to have the ability to do it just because I won't have like another computer. So right now I'm thinking, how can I raise a little extra money on the side to buy another computer? So that's one goal right now. Uh, but I'm applying for everything. I applied to a big scholarship. I'm going to apply to some big grants in the fall. I put in a proposal to do this sort of community research for vulnerable populations in rural areas.
Hmm.
What else did I do? There's this agri-tech company that I'm trying to sort of get in with so that I can maybe do a little bit of consulting work for them. But ultimately, my big dream is just finish that PhD and then try to get a tenure track position anywhere in North America, ideally, because that'll be what
Yeah.
works best for my family. But yeah, and then content creation wise, I I guess I never really had huge. Like, it's weird because once you hit Twitch partner to get the ArenaNet partner, I've honestly have had like no goals since then. So only
Yeah.
recently was I like, I kind of want to do this podcast. I want to do, I'd like to make some more YouTube videos. I'm trying to get that all figured, but I have all of these like cool things, right? That I
Yeah.
wish that I want to make YouTube videos of them all. So that I can show off and like tell the stories about how I got all this stuff and like what it means and where it came from. And so that's, I guess, next on my big list, but it's
Yeah. Can I
lots of little things.
so as someone who's been through what you've like been with the PhD and making time and stuff, just be careful not to burn out. Like, and there's an
Oh yeah.
aspect that I didn't have to worry about is I'm not a parent. You are a
Yeah.
dad. So
It's going to be hard.
it's it's going to be hard, and so it's always important to give yourself some grace, and like, you might not be able to publish videos like once a month or like once a week, but you have the passion for everything that you do, Snip. Like you have the passion, you've achieved all of the goals that you've wanted because you have that drive and that passion. So I think you should always remember that no matter what you comes in front of you, you will overcome it and you'll like successfully get out of it.
Yeah. It'll all work out.
It will.
It'll all work out at some point. Yeah. Anyway, one last question for you. Okay. So imagine that you have this friend and they're at your door and you like the doorbell rings and you look out the window and it's your friend and they're being consumed by a snake. And it's like a really large anaconda like snake. Okay. And they're like, help, please. Would you answer the door?
Yes. Okay. You're not lucky. I own 2 snakes. I freaking love snakes and I love constrictors. So I would answer the door because one, I love my friend, but mostly because I want to see the snake and try to get the snake for myself. But
Perfect.
yes. What about you? Would you just like stay inside?
See, I'm a good friend, so I'd answer the door, but I know a few people that would not answer the door. And I've always thought that's like a really interesting thing to do or not do.
Well, to be honest, if it was a jellyfish, no. But a snake, yes.
Yeah, we don't have jellyfish in Canada. Well, maybe we do, and I don't know, but I don't think so. I think it's too cold.
It's too cold. Yeah.
I've seen them before, though. They're scary.
Like in Australia, people like tell me, "Wow, you live with like crocodiles, you live with snake." And yes, like I live in the state with like the top 2 most dangerous like venomous snakes in the world, right? Like top 1 is still an Australian species, but it's really in the middle of the desert. And they're like, "Oh, how do you deal with it?" And I'm like, first of all, I live in the mountain. That's why my stream looks really weird. I have really crappy internet now that I live in the mountains. And literally, there are venomous snakes like in the summer, they're everywhere. But they're really scared of humans and they don't want to hang out with you. But like, take me to the beach and make me go swim in those waters, and I am terrified. Not of the sharks, but those freaking jellyfish can literally knock you down. And the misconception about, please, by the way, if you get stung by a jellyfish, don't ask someone to pee on you. It doesn't work. Like it makes
does not
worse.
work.
But yeah, so jellyfish. Sorry, I could go on about like animals, but definitely jellyfish I would probably not answer the door and let my friend die.
Yeah,
with love.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It's fair. Apparently, Canada. The chat says that Canada does have jellyfish. I had no idea. I live in the prairies.
Oh, wow.
It's just flat earth and then mountains. So, I mean, what do you do?
You have raccoons though. Like I lived in Montreal for
do.
4 years, and your raccoons are terrifying. Like,
yeah,
they're not cute. They're not trash pandas. They're freaking aggressive. I got hunted down by a raccoon once.
It's true. Yeah, the raccoons are aggressive.
Yeah.
We have skunks here too, which are...
Oh, a funny story about skunks that I didn't know about. So I had never seen a skunk in my life. Like squirrels, you know how you have squirrels all over? I had never seen a squirrel. And so I was the really weird human who every time I saw a squirrel, I would just like stop dead in my track and look at the squirrel because it was so cute. And I would be the weirdo who's looking at squirrel. And one day I was walking in a little town not too far away from Montreal. And I started smelling something. I'm like, holy crap, there's a lot of people smoking weed up in here. And I got told that it's a skunk. I did not know.
They're very similar smells, actually. But yes.
I thought the whole town was just a town to smoke weed. And, you know, it was back then where it wasn't really legal. So I'm like, oh, dang. But no, it's a skunk. Like, yeah.
Wow. You were in Montreal? I had no idea. When was that?
Yeah, I did. From 2011 to 2015, I did my bachelor's of medicine there. And then I got headhunted, by Australia to come do my PhD.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were you like McGill?
Yeah, McGill. Yeah, I was at McGill.
That's a good school. Wow. Very cool.
Yeah. It dropped down a lot. Like the medical program used to be like top 15 or something. It dropped down. Like now the university where I got my PhD, the University of Melbourne, is like above McGill, which is, I never thought that would be a thing. Like I got headhunted because I was from McGill. And now I get headhunted because I'm from the University of Melbourne. And I'm like, oh, okay, like that's interesting, the shift. So it goes to show that, you know, when you pick your PhD, yes, it's cool to go for a really high-ranking university, but really what matters is like your passion and what you really want to do with that PhD.
True. So true. Well, I am so glad that we finally got to talk and that it was on this podcast. And I feel like the people listening will be like, holy crap, these people are just like best buds. They've been friends forever. They're just talking about all this random stuff. They're just naturally going from topic to topic. Yeah, this is literally the first time we've spoken, actually. It's kind of funny, but very cool.
Well,
I'm so honored that you said yes and that you came and spoke with me and that we finally found a time that worked.
yeah.
Super cool. So I'll have to have you back another
Yeah, for
time
sure.
too.
And thanks for thinking about me. It means the world. Because as I said, I really think you're an awesome human being. You do really great things for the community. And you're a really good person. You're a good person, Steph, and you should be really proud of who you are.
Oh, well, thank you. Tell the listeners where they can find you and all those things to
Yeah, so
end us off.
I'm live on Twitch from Fridays till Monday. I mainly play Guild Wars 2 on twitch.tv/Rava. I do have a YouTube channel, but like Steb, I struggle to find the time to edit. I would love to be able to edit more, but I don't have the time. And just if I may, the month of May is very important for multiple sclerosis research. And there is, for example, the May 50K initiative going. And if you wouldn't mind donating to your local multiple sclerosis charity, because 30th of May is World MS Day, and it really helps people live in a lot of pain. And research is still very much needed for MS, and it can affect a lot of people. So yeah, try and donate. You can claim it back on your taxes as well, so it's really helpful, and you can really help advance research.
I'll put a little link in the description for you there. I think I've actually seen the 50K walks and stuff, but yeah, I'll put a little link for you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much again. And until next time, everybody, thank you so much.